when you say women deserve less, it's like immediate, like,
I think in a majority of situations, women do, though, deserve less, right? Because they have this egalitarian mindset where they think that they're equal to a man, but at the same time, they want a guy that's superior to them. Women want taller, money, competent, but then they expect you to treat them equal. They think, I just need to be pretty and exist. It's a more of a, what can you do for me type mindset, and you're here to get me. I don't need to necessarily do anything for you. So I wish more women had that critical thinking, like, okay, he's really good at this. Let me kind of come in and fill in other roles. But a lot of women don't do that, unfortunately.
Okay. So this idea of equality, I want to just dig into. First of all, do women want men who they feel are superior to them?
Yes.
Okay. In what ways?
Well, they want them to make more money, obviously. They want them to be stronger than them, obviously. But more importantly, they want them to have something that most women never get, which is the respect of other men. So one of the big things that you'll see online, this phenomenon really comes out online, is the idea of the pick-me. You've heard that term, pick-me. I'm sure you get called pick-me.
All the time.
Right?
All the time.
And many women do. Really, I think what the feminist says is the pick-me is a woman who's starved for male attention, so just tells men what they want to hear, thus betraying the sisterhood. But that's all cope. What's actually going on is that the women who are most often considered pick-me's or called pick-me's by these skanks are actually women who just have some kind of actual respect for men. So they're not just fuck objects for men. Instead, there's some sort of mutual respect there, or there's an opinion there which is valued. Remember that most women, their opinion is never valued by anybody, including other women. It's just not valued at all. There's a lot of emotional garbage that comes out of their mouth with each other, validating each other, things like this. But most people don't seek out the opinions of women. And so if it is the case that you have a woman who, there's actual men who seek their opinions out or respect their opinions, this is infuriating to the sisterhood. They lose their minds collectively about this, because how do they get attention? They don't do it through, they want to be valued for all the things that they're not valued for. I want to be valued for my mind. I want to be valued for my brains. I want to be valued for the incredible things I say. Nope, they're only valued because they got big tits and guys like to look at them. That's it. And they know it. And because of that, it's an infuriating thing for them to see any sort of validation that comes to a woman from men that is something other than looks, because that's all they've ever been validated for. So this is kind of a big issue when you get into this idea of the pick-me parade. Now, when you're talking about what do women want when it comes to men, they want men who have high social status. Why? Because they don't. They don't have high social status. Women don't have social status with men the same way that men have social status in society. I don't give a shit about your career. I don't care if you make millions of dollars. I don't give a shit about any of that. It's completely irrelevant to me when it comes to mate selection, and 90% of men, they don't give a shit about that. Your achievements are meaningless to them in that respect. Now, are you a great mother? Right? Are you gonna give me back rub when I come home? If I get super irritated for no particularly good reason, right? Are you going to come over and do that head scratchy thing with the long nails, right? Are you going to do those things? Those are the things that we're looking for. Nobody gives a shit about your career. But what's happened is women have tried now to compete with men in the career field. They want to compete with them. And it's like, well, if we're in competition, I don't want to be in competition with my wife. That sounds awful, right? I don't want to do that. That sounds terrible. So when you're talking about validation, I mean, Myron's always been correct about this, that the standards that women have for men way higher than the standards that men have for women, because men actually don't care. And by the way, we're the romantic sex, not women.
Explain
men
that. Explain
are the
that.
romantic sex. Well, aren't the men the ones who show up with the boxes of chocolates and flowers? Aren't the men the one who plan the dates? Aren't men the ones who come up with the great love songs?
Well, women will say...
Aren't men the ones who do the poems?
Women will say that they've trained you to do that, and that that's not instinctual, and that it's forced, and that, you know, women kind of have to orchestrate or supervise or, you know, write down reminders to get you guys to do that stuff.
Yeah, too bad history disagrees with them. Look up courtly love. Courtly love, true, was popularized by a female queen. That's true. But this was a thing which was produced by male poets of the time. a courtly love was a completely, and chivalry itself came out of the mind of men. They've always been the romantic type. Winning over the woman as the trope. That's all courtly love stuff, right? All comes out of that era. And no, we are the romantic sex, always have been the romantic sex. So the question is what are women bringing to the table, or are women the table? That's the question.
Let me ask you about this equality, though, because I mean, women don't want the responsibilities that men have, in the same way. They don't want to have to earn X amount of dollars a year. They don't want to have to build the roads and bridges. They don't want to have to. They don't want the responsibilities of all those things. So when they shout equality, what do they want? What is that thing?
Status.
Is it just status?
They're asking for status.
What does that translate to?
They're asking
status manifests how?
So inside of a woman's brain, right, at least the women, the many thousands I've talked to, they think that sitting in a cubicle and crunching numbers or doing some other HR bullshit work or psychologizing on a couch is just as valuable to society as building a bridge. They think it's just as valuable to society as welding. They think it's just as valuable to society as warfighting. They think it's just as valuable to society as the things that men are doing, and it's not. It's not. And you can actually see this bear out. What have women been about for 50 years? The pay gap. Well, why does a pay gap exist? Well, because men are willing to work more overtime. They're willing to do all. If you compensate for it, there's actually parity. Inside of pay between men and women, right? The main thing here is when you're talking about equality, what they really want is they want to have the same social status absent the responsibility. That's it. That's what they mean by equality. It's not equal at all.
So it's the authority without responsibility argument, essentially.
Yeah. It's always. Well, and that's what they want status for. Status is always for authority, right? Women wanting authority. That's what abortion is about. Abortion is often about revenge against a man. I can kill your kid. I want the option to kill your kid if I want to kill your kid.
You said something before about women knowing, guys will be drawn to a woman, say she's got, the big boobs, and they're like, they don't care about your career. They don't care about any of that. It seems to me that women really do intrinsically know that, though. They do know it, because what do they lead with, right? They lead with their sexuality. They lead with, they lead with that. They weaponize it, actually, oftentimes, because they know that their power rests in their attractiveness, their looks, their sexuality, all of those things. They don't lead with their career.
Where they put their boobs, right in your
they're
face.
They're not leading.
Stop looking. Stop sexualizing me. Then they put their boobs right in your face. Stop it. Stop looking.
They're not leading with their career. That's not. And if they do talk about their career on the date, they do it while the boobs are hanging out, right? So they know you've just heard like you don't give a shit. They know you don't give a shit, but there's this odd disconnect somewhere because they keep reaching for those very things that they know men don't care about, while instinctively then kind of leaning on the things they do know men care about. So they go out on the date and they talk about their job half naked, right? It's like this very strange disconnect that happens in a lot of these women.
It's not really that much of a disconnect. Imagine this. So everything in your schooling, from the time you're in first grade to the time you're through college, you're being trained by women, right? Women are the ones who are dominant in teaching roles, and they're the ones who are dominant in nursing roles, things like this. From the teaching role up, what do they hear about? They hear about women's empowerment. They hear about how men and women are interchangeable widgets, how women have fought for their freedom, right, as though they were using muskets or something to do this. That's what they hear about, and so they do think that there is a social status dynamic which they also adhere to inside of a hierarchy. They think that they're essentially inside of a man's hierarchy, and they're competing within that hierarchy. They're just not. It's just a bunch of bullshit lies that they've been fed. There is no competition with women inside of the male hierarchy, not when it comes to work or career. Men don't give a shit about it. They don't care.
It's people ask me like why I do this, why I do what I do, and I think part of it was having a son, right, and realizing, wow, the world is effed up. I need to say my piece, but also there was a lot of reflection. I felt so lied to. I grew up, and in my ear the whole time was, you need to go to college. You need to you need to prioritize this from everyone in my ear. It was, I went to college and I graduated valedictorian. Who gives a shit, really? I look back and I'm like, what a waste of my time. I was not intrinsically ambitious. I did not want to work. I wanted to look pretty. I was a very objectively attractive young woman, and I wanted to lay in the sun and look pretty and just be feminine. And it was like, you got to do this, you got to pay your own bills, and it was so disruptive to my nervous system and my psyche. But looking back, I'm like, man, I got very lucky, Andrew. I have an amazing husband. I have an incredible child. I got pregnant late very easily. This God had a path for me, and I thank him for it every single day. But I still look back and I'm like, what the hell was I doing? I was not promiscuous. I was just wasting time with stuff that I didn't give a lick about, that didn't help me to feel healthier, stronger. So people always ask me why I do this. And I'm like, I'm really angry, at all the people who wanted me to follow this male path so badly. And it happens to so many women who aren't naturally that way. They don't feel that. I didn't feel this ambition or this desire to be a man or follow a male path. I didn't want to do any of it. I didn't want to do an internship. I didn't want to work that hard. I didn't want any of it. And still, I spent a decade on bullshit, essentially. So I'm like yelling at these women through the camera, like, listen to yourself, and it's wild how.
Well, you're getting to the root of something here, which is most of the intersexual dynamics that we talk about they're kind of tangential. They actually don't get to the root of what our issue is. The root of the issue revolves around one thing and one thing only. It's the same thing it's always revolved around: numbers and reproduction. And it works this way. It's real simple. Men have a duty to protect society and gather, protect, and refine resources and distribute them. In the distribution of those resources to society, women and children are the primary benefactors, not men. That's the case. That's the higher duty, the virtuous duty of men. Women's duty is supposed to be to reproduce. What's happened is since feminism and its rise, especially in the late 1800s to right now, women have been sold a bill of goods. Their duty is not to reproduce, that their duty is to do everything except reproduce. You can do that later. You can defer that. You
or
can
not
have
at
your
all.
fun. You can blah, blah, blah. But because men are still fulfilling that order of the social contract, let's say, and women are not fulfilling their end, that's why you see this disconnect
and
happening.
they're hurting. I'm telling you, I have so many friends that did what I did and didn't get so lucky, and they're devastated. They look back at their life and they're like, what do I have to hold on to? This career? Who gives it? Who cares? There's no children.
Yeah, who cares?
There's no family. There's nothing to essentially keep them warm at night. They feel like they've lost purpose. They've lost years. It's part of this content is I don't want women to wind up like that. I don't want that.
Well, you're talking about fulfillment.
Exactly.
So in Christianity, in Orthodoxy, we call this teleology, or the telos, purpose. And you're talking about the purpose of men and women. What is our ultimate purpose here? And the truth is you can just take it right to its rudimentary building blocks. What does it take to build a society? Well, the man and the woman have to have the sexy time for there to be the next generation, right? That's how it has to work. You have to actually reproduce, right? Now, how do you end up with healthy families and healthy cross-generational families and these kind of big dynamics where you had, in some cases, whole towns which were founded with the last name Jones, it's like Jonestown, things like this, Jamestown, Smithtown. It's because these families were so dynamic and cross-generational and so large that they began to accrue a lot of wealth to themselves. But the only way that happens is if you have what they call the traditional gender roles. There's not gender roles, right? This is how humanity actually has to operate within its building blocks, or it can't function. South Korea is not going to exist in 50 years. I mean, it's not actually going to exist. Their birth rate is under 1. It's at 0.9. Last I checked, it's almost. I think the revised number is going to be 0.7. That's a people whose demise is assured. It's assured not through war, not through attrition, not through disease, not through financially being crippled. They have every advantage in the world. They're going to be completely devastated because they flipped on gender roles, the idea of gender roles. The truth of the matter is that you have to have building blocks for your society in general, period. And we've reversed them. So we're screwed, right? That's it. It's really that simple. Women defer family, and they defer having children until later in life. That's it. It killed society. It's killing society, literally killing it. And what's happened instead is we say, well, you should do what makes you feel good. Do what makes you feel good, man. If it makes you feel good to go 50 dudes in a weekend, you go, girl. If it makes you feel good, dude, to do a bunch of drugs and trip out on mushrooms on top of a mountain somewhere, bro, you can do that. Life's not about what makes you feel good. And ultimately, you miss your purpose. And this is what's happened, is that the purpose of men and women has been completely inverted.